Welcome back to part 2 of our conversation with designated drinker, the owner and founder of Manumission Tour Company, Councilman John T. Chapman. So if you missed any of part 1, go back, belly up to that bar, and give it a listen first. We promise to save a seat right here for you, won't we, Gina?
Absolutely.
We won't let him miss the tour, John.
No.
So in part 1, John, you reminded us of the mission behind Manumission Tour Company, which is awesome. Shared the inspiration behind what you're doing in the first place, and gave us some idea of how much rich history is here in Alexandria. So before we go any further into part 2, please, will you give us that little sound bite? So just in case somebody missed it in part 1, what is Manumission Tour Company?
So Manumission Tour Company is a cultural heritage walking tour company. We specialize on African American history, primarily here in Alexandria. We talk about free and enslaved individuals and many of their allies that help them find freedom and get support here in town. We offer a number of walking tours and bus tours.
Awesome. It's awesome. So, I think we should offer him right out of the gate.
A cocktail?
Let's do it.
All right, let's go.
All right, come on.
Let's go make a cocktail. Okay, so we talked about making a key lime daiquiri, which I love, key lime vanilla. We're gonna add a little bit of these fun little winter berries. I don't know where they got this new name for them. They're just, the fancy little name is like a Blanc de Blanc strawberry. I've always known these as pine berries. They're just white strawberries, and they have this little bit of pineapple flavor to them, and I love them. I think they're super delicious. I almost took a bite, that's how much I like them. So with that, combined with our wonderful key lime that we talked about in our tip earlier in the first episode, so you go back and give it a listen, or you can check us out on Instagram. We're gonna make a key lime vanilla, and I'm gonna call it a pine berry daiquiri. So here we go. So we're gonna squeeze 2 ounces of key lime. Now let me just tell you how long that takes, about 3 hours. So each one gives you a microdot. I went ahead earlier and I made the key lime juice. I was gonna call it something crazy. I don't know what I was just gonna say. And now we're gonna take the same thing and we're gonna squeeze our strawberries in there. So we're making 2 cocktails right now. So it's 1 ounce for each cocktail. And we are going to just squeeze a little bit of this beautiful white strawberry juice in here. And we're gonna do 3 for each cocktail. And you're gonna just take it out. You don't need it in there. It's not a muddled drink. It's just a nice daiquiri. It's gonna give this really complex flavor to your daiquiri. It's gonna make it like one of those things that just rounds it out. So there we go. See, it would be painful if I had to do all the key limes, huh, Louise? Yes. So we're gonna take that last one. So we got 3 pine berries, 1 ounce of the key lime juice. It takes a long time, so if you're gonna do this for multiple people, make sure you do this ahead of time. We're gonna use 1/2 ounce of vanilla bean syrup. I made this ahead of time. This is made with bourbon vanilla bean. If you don't feel like making it, you can always come and purchase this at Buffalo and Bergen. We do sell it to go. And it is crazy hard and expensive to make, so just buy what you need. Anyway, next we're going to use white rum. This is a Caribbean rum, which I really like. It's called 10-to-1. And we're gonna put 2 ounces in there. So there we go. We got all of our ingredients in there now. We're gonna add some ice and we're gonna shake. And we ice down our glasses before. That way we had a nice cold drink and made it delicious. And we're gonna hit it with a strawberry and just a little bit of rosemary to finish it. So, are you ready? Here we go. Okay. Oh my God, it smells so good. I love key limes. You don't need the pine berries. You don't need anything. You just have the key limes and regular daiquiri. It's just wonderful. It's this perfect time of year for all of these things, so you should definitely use it. And I'm just gonna double strain it just to make sure we don't have any strawberry seeds in here. I know. Did we learn nothing from Pretty Woman? I had all the seeds in my teeth. Anyway. All right, so 2 beautiful vanilla key lime daiquiris. And then we're gonna finish it off with this little cute little rosemary strawberry. We're just gonna put a little across the top. Just drop it in. Same thing, one more time, just a little bit. You're gonna put it across the top. I'm just gonna drop it in. And there we go.
Cheers.
Yeah, you're welcome. Cheers.
All right, John, how much do you love that cocktail?
It's amazing.
Yeah.
Yes.
Kind of out of your wheelhouse a little bit, though, huh?
A little bit.
There
A
you
little
go.
bit.
Look at you expanding his horizons.
Wait, I want to say one thing about this drink. When you make it your own. You like it a little bit sweeter? Make it sweeter. You like it less sweet? Make it less sweet. There's a huge argument that daiquiri should be a dry cocktail. I fall for the dry. Some people believe that daiquiri should be something that you have like on a boat, like in the middle of the ocean, and it's
Right.
loaded with sugar. I also like those too. So I say it's your recipe. I say half an ounce. Use an ounce. You want an ounce? Don't use more than that though. You don't need it. You're an adult.
Daiquiri as you do.
Yes, daiquiri as you do. Yes.
All right, so where are they going to go to get this recipe?
You're going to go to designateddrinker.show for our recipes and our tips and our how-to, and you can hit us up on Instagram. And you can see my lovely face whipping up tips and tricks for you.
Yeah, and so many cocktails. Make sure you hit her up. She's gonna. If you have a question, she'll answer it.
I do. Yes, you can even DM, if you're feeling embarrassed, just DM me. It's so funny. People like ask me questions all the time on my personal, and then like they're like shy all of a sudden when it comes to actually where the drink forum is happening.
Yeah, where all the
And
enthusiasts are.
They're like, let me like not ask you there, but I will hit you up on your personal Instagram and ask you the questions with a picture of my child.
There you
I'll
go.
be like, so, and I'm like, just what is happening here? That's my daughter's dance picture. But okay. Okay.
Well, if you missed that, don't worry. Just scroll down into the episode notes. They'll put links to get to Designated Drinker, to Instagram, and absolutely to the tour group, so that when people are here in Alexandria ready to get schooled on more than just a cocktail, they know who to reach out to.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's awesome. So I have another question for you.
Sure.
What spurred you to go into civic service? I mean, being a councilman, we joke about, I'm going to put your phone number so in case somebody has a problem with their rubbish, they can call you directly. But I know I've been with you in spaces. We'll just be talking because, we're often in the same space, on the chamber and here and there. And people literally will just walk up and just start talking to them about, I don't know, parking or the sewer.
Yeah, indeed. It's something that is something you kind of have to get used to if you want to be in this space. I remember I think it had to be my first term. I was out on a date and sitting at a table talking to my date, and a random person just comes up and starts just talking about whatever's on their mind. And I'm like, are you not taking any social cues that I'm with somebody at a dimly lit place? Like, this is not the public hearing. I appreciate the opportunity to talk to you, but this probably is not the best place, especially if you can email me or something else, right? But I learned early on that, if I want to try to have quiet space and quiet time, I gotta be laid out at night.
Is that where the nightmare came from?
In part, yeah, it is. People have called me the nightmare. I've called myself the nightmare too. But that really came from basically not wanting to go home after meetings, like going out to a bar after meetings or going to get something to eat or whatever. And I would wander back home at some point at night. And you see the city in a different way after 8 p.m. Where most folks have gone home, and there's just a different crowd out. Not always a crowd that's there trying to party, but they're trying to socialize. They might have a different job hours or what have you, and just feel differently about the city. But they want to be connected to local government too, and so going to bars, talking to people at bars about just different city issues was something I did, and people enjoyed it. It's kind of weird if you're having a cocktail and then somebody wants to talk to you about city stuff, but most people lean into that. They love it.
That's where it all happened.
Yeah.
I say this all the time about literally when people say that it's so weird when you talk about politics at a bar, I'm like, it's always been talked about at a bar.
That's true.
Or it's never not been talked about at a bar. And it makes me so excited about it because literally the bartender has been with politically influenced so many presidential elections and stuff like that, and they used to give away election cocktails.
Yeah.
And they'd be like, go vote again, get a free drink. Go vote again, get a free drink. Go vote. And there were all of these different drinks, especially at the bars that were closest to, well, I guess the White House at the time. And then you talk about your bartenders that served Abraham Lincoln at the Willard, right? At the Round Robin. This is nothing new. The lobbyists came from people socializing and drinking
in the lobby
of the Willard to talk to President and his cabinet, not just him.
Yeah, of course.
I mean, come on.
It's such
Let's
a
bring
different...
that all back. Just have the meetings at a bar.
So that's actually something that I am actually going to talk to our city council about. One of the history pieces or history stories that we have here in Alexandria is that city council, and I want to say maybe in the late 1700s, used to meet at Gatsby's Tavern. And we have Alexandria's 275th birthday. And so what I'm going to kind of recommend is that we have kind of a special session of city council at Gatsby's Tavern, kind of recognizing that type of history, and being able to kind of go back in time and sit, have everybody sit in a big ballroom in Gatsby Tavern and have a council meeting, and kind of what that would look like, what that would feel like, kind of dating back to then, obviously with different exceptions, but still.
Slightly different people in the room.
Will you bring your own, what they used to be called a knocker or something. They weren't a gavel. They were called something else. When you wanted to be heard, you would not your hand. It was a thing. Like you would hold a thing.
So the thought is to have our historic Alexandria staff kind of figure out how to most reenact kind of different that period, right?
I'm gonna lose my mind.
And I think that
is like everything I ever wanted.
I think that would be cool. And so something like that, having people operate like that.
Well,
I think would be
Designate
cool.
Drinker is based out of Old Town Alexandria. We could do the cocktails.
Yes.
And they definitely drank.
And I would say that you may actually want to capture this content.
That might be a good idea.
First of all, like if our founding fathers heavily drank.
Heavily.
I mean, you had to.
Oh, yeah.
If you knew it every day someone's coming to kill you, you drink. You're like, all right, whatever. I mean, the stories are insane.
We might have to talk about how we pulled that together.
Let's think about the wars here. How far people walked. They walked.
Oh yeah.
Or people like in Frederick, people that lived in Frederick. There is known record of people from Frederick, Maryland, that would walk from Frederick to Washington D.C. Over a month.
Wow.
I believe it.
Yeah, and the faster walkers got there in like 3 weeks.
Yeah, one of the interesting stories, if you've ever been to 1315 Duke Street, a former slave trading company, is of a man named Henry Bailey. Henry Bailey, back in the 1800s, is an enslaved man whose family grows up here in Alexandria, but he's enslaved, and I think his family is too. And he is sold away to a plantation in Texas. And this is later half of 1800s. And so Emancipation Proclamation happens. And if you know the story of Juneteenth, that's kind of centered around the fact that enslaved people in Texas didn't get the information about the emancipation kind of on that in a timely fashion, shall we say. And so once Juneteenth comes to Texas and he's freed, he actually walks all the way back to Alexandria to find his mother and family that are still here.
Oh my God.
And so, that idea where people are just walking miles and miles is something that honestly is the norm at that time, right? If you don't have horse and buggy or whatever, you're gonna walk. You're gonna take whatever time you need to get to wherever you're going. But it's such an amazing story.
I mean, I think I'd be able to do like walking a marathon each day if I was like pretty fucked up. Because I wouldn't know that I was in a lot of pain.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think
chances of them being able to like buy alcohol along the way is pretty slim.
No.
And some of those parts, like where you're walking through.
Now there's a whole other thing about the walking maps, right? We should pull them out. There's walking maps where there would have been, if you were walking to these places where you could go and rest, where you could go and meet people, where you could go to like a still, where you could go to like a tavern.
Sure.
And like even on the town where I live in Middletown now, right? Even on the tavern, the road that comes up, it goes out from Frederick and crosses to Hagerstown, because that was the original road. There is literally these little taverns and boarding houses for both black and white, and at the time, and you would walk, and like maybe like 15 miles down the road where we'd be like, why would there be another inn? Why would there be another inn? Because you just walked 15 fucking miles. And now you're staying here, or this is where you can stay. And there were walking maps where you could get fresh water, where you could sleep for the night, where there weren't Indian people that were trying to kill you as well.
Yeah.
A lot of people were trying to kill you here.
Yeah.
Like you just showed up here and everyone's trying to kill you.
Yeah.
There wasn't like you just got here and everything was great. And then
No.
if they didn't kill you, the winters killed you.
Yeah.
So you didn't grow enough food, you walked everywhere, and then you died anyway. Very tricky time.
So uplifting story, Gina. So uplifting.
That's why I think that, like, when you talk about your forefathers, you talk about a young country, right? Like, it's like this is really the only place that's like a young country, right? You have to say, holy shit, you're a crazy person. You showed up here and you did all these things, and like it's crazy. The whole story is crazy, and like there was never a time where like either person was going to exist. Right? I think it's the craziest history ever. Like, I asked my father,
for sure.
why did you ever, my father's an immigrant, I'm from Italy. And I'm like, why'd you ever come here? It's barbaric here. And my father's like, I don't know, I liked your mother. I was like, okay.
It's a good reason.
it's
No, I
true.
mean, you're absolutely right. I think, the mixture of people and the ways they get here and why they're here is so, if you were making that story or creating that story, you wouldn't create that, right? It's so wild in so many different ways that, we're still dealing with that today, right? And how so many different cultures come together, some clash, some mix, some don't mix. Like it's a whole, I don't know, just we like to call it a melting pot, right? And it really is. And I think, what you were talking about in terms of walking maps, we see that, taken by African Americans as well as you get into the late 1800s, early 1900s with the Green Books. And how do you safely travel across a country?
Yeah.
What places can you go? What places can't you go? And how do you get there? And who's, what boarding houses is going to support you? It's just interesting how, the different layers can point to an earlier layer. Like you're talking with the walking maps. Like the Green Books of the 1920s and 30s and 40s and 50s can point to walking maps that have been created before them.
Forever.
To talk
Yes.
about how do you safely get through the state or get to another part of the state or another part of the country.
Or what farm you could stop at for food,
That's right.
or where there's lodging,
It's
or where you could
amazing.
spend the night in a barn. It wasn't just, and when you're a traveler on foot, obviously you have no means. If you're walking, you don't have means. And there's a lot of farms, especially in Western Maryland where I live, that would allow anybody to stay in the barn. You could stay in the barn, didn't matter. They had no money because these are people that are living in the middle of nowhere. And, dairy farmers, most of them were dairy farmers with no money.
Yeah.
So then the wife would make dinner, and like you would be called to dinner. And like my house is like one of those places where like and then people stayed.
Yeah.
Like you might have walked from, I don't know. There's so many stories of travelers that come and all kinds, not just like, black or white, there's all kinds. And they just stay. They like finally had enough. Like, I'm not going anywhere else. And you're like, all right, well, I just walked like, for like 7 months. So this is cool, and this is where I will live now. Like, that's crazy, right?
It is
All right, I'm
crazy.
sorry. I'll stop.
No, it's
That's why
crazy.
the walking tour is so important.
Yeah.
It's so important.
It is. I mean, it's just the idea that, I think the history, for me, it's really about local history. I think we talk so much about kind of national history or state history, but, as you were just mentioning, there are stories, history around just sites like that barn. That barn could probably tell you 1,000 stories of people who have been in it, right? Until you find out those stories, you never know what happens to some of those people. One of those people could be an inventor that created something, or somebody's father that was, that settled in this place, and because he settled in this place, this person was able to do this or grow up here or whatever. And I think we don't now think of a lot of that just naturally, and luckily, history is still here, still told, still taught. And so that our younger generations can grab onto it. But I think the issue that we faced is the competition with everything else, right? How do you compete for walking tours and with walking tours in a much more technical world, a world that's much more driven by phones and computers and things of that nature. How does a walking tour company compete with AI, right? We were just talking about that, but that's that's the world we're living in, trying to compete for people's attention.
AI makes mistakes.
Absolutely.
We talk about that all the time.
Yeah.
I think what's really important there is being able to retain those stories and continue to tell those stories, and to remember that just because we tell somebody else's story doesn't mean we're canceling anyone else's thought behind history. We're just saying
That's
we're
right.
telling a whole other side of it.
That's right. That's absolutely right.
And I hate when, I really don't like the term whether it be Black history or Hispanic or Latin history or Asian history, because the last time I checked, we don't live in a bubble.
Right.
So your history is my history to an extent. This is a shared space. We may have gone through it differently, but we were there. We as
collectively.
as a country, as a society, as a culture, we're there together. So you can't. It's not a singular point. So my point is, it's everyone's history. So it all should be told
And I think
in the
we're
way
gonna
it should
get-
be told.
I think we're going to
the
get
truth.
definitely to that space. I think we are at probably a phase of this country where, because earlier phases haven't lifted up those singular types of history, the Hispanic history, the African American history, people still feel so compelled to break them into their silos and not have them be kind of connected like the quilt they are.
Yeah.
Right. But hopefully we get to that space as a nation, and then I think you'll start to really see when somebody tells about history in Alexandria, they're weaving in everyone's history as they tell that story. And so it's not, we're going to talk about Black history in Alexandria. No, and the history of women in Alexandria, and then white men in Alexandria. And it's not going to be those silos. It's just going to be the history of Alexandria. We're going to talk about this person who might be a person of color. We might talk about this woman who did X, Y, and Z. And just it's weaved into the regular fabric of our history.
Yeah.
But hopefully that's coming soon, that day.
Let's have more cocktails and talk about that.
Yeah, every day you work towards that.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's true.
Absolutely. Well, I hate to do this, but Alex is giving me the stink eye. I think it's time for you to ask the final question.
She really
again.
is. All right.
She is. Everyone thinks
Well, you've
she's
been on the
sweet.
show, so you should know the answer, right? Or
He
maybe
might.
it's
Let's
changed.
see. Maybe. Let's see.
Let's see.
So, in this day and age, everyone identifies as a different spirited animal, right? Well, if you can identify as a spirit ingredient, whether it's for a cocktail or for food, what would that ingredient be, and how does it define you?
Ooh. So
First ingredients, usually the best answer.
okay, I'm gonna go with the cherry.
Great.
So yeah, we'll see how I explain this one.
Yes.
One of those, what are those? Not the maraschino cherries. What's the other? What are those?
Luxardo?
Yes, the
They're so
Luxardo. Exactly. That's
are.
why.
They're so good.
That's why. Because they're so fun. I'm a fun guy.
Damn it.
No, I mean, I think that, something like for me, particularly with, what I do, there's a seriousness in policymaking and being a council member, but I always want people to have a good interaction with me that is not necessarily as serious as as some of the things that we talk about are. Like, he's a down-to-earth person, hopefully. He's fun. He enjoys what he's doing. And might not be taking over everything, might not be taking over conversations, but really adding to it. And I think that's what those cherries do. They add to the mixture that you've already got, the drink you've already got, and just a little touch of fun.
I
Nice.
love that.
Love it.
I love that.
Well,
All right.
that's it. Well, cheers.
Cheers.
Welcome back. So good to see
Cheers.
you.
Happy New Year.
Happy
Welcome
New
back.
Year.
Yes. Till next time.
Indeed.
The Designated Drinker Show is produced by Missing Link, a Latina-owned, strategy-driven, creatively fueled production co-op. From ideation to creation, we craft human connections through intelligent, engaging, and informative content. Also in the Missing Link lineup of podcasts is Roger That, a podcast dedicated to guiding you through the haze of dementia, led by skilled caregivers. Now, if you're looking for a whole new way to enjoy the theater, check out Between Acts, an immersive audio theater podcast experience. Each episode takes you on a spellbinding journey through the works of newfound playwrights, from dramas to comedies and everything in between. Find Missing Link's League of Podcasts on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you listen to your podcasts. And while you're there, please don't forget to follow, download, and review the shows. Your reviews help our shows reach new audiences. To find out more about Missing Link, visit missinglink.company. That's missinglink.company.